Welcome to the Explainer. We're heading into that time of year where pumpkins are everywhere. But we're not just talking about pies or jack-o'-lanterns today. We're going to uncover this incredible hidden power source in the parts of the pumpkin that almost always ends up in the trash. So let's just jump right in with a question that kind of flips everything on its head. What if the healthiest, most powerful part of a pumpkin is the very part you've been throwing away all these years? All right, check out this number. Every year, the massive pumpkin processing industry, for all that canned pumpkin, the frozen stuff, pumpkin seed oil, it generates over 3 million tons of byproducts. We're talking a literal mountain of seeds, pulp, and meal that for the most part just gets tossed out or sold off for next to nothing. But here's the thing. What if all that waste isn't really waste? What if it's actually a forgotten treasure? Well, it's time to meet the hero of our story. So this hero of ours isn't just one thing. It's more like a team. First, you've got pumpkin seed cake. That's the dense, nutrient-packed stuff left over after you press seeds for oil. Then there's the processing pulp, all the fibrous bits and seeds the frozen food industry doesn't want. And of course, just the plain old discarded seeds. Yeah, this is the stuff our food system just leaves behind. Okay, so science has decided to really dig in and take a closer look at this treasure. They started decoding its secrets, and honestly, what they found was a straight-up nutritional superpower. Get this. That pumpkin seed cake, remember, the stuff left over for making oil, it can be up to 65% protein. That is a huge number. It puts it in the same league as some of the best, most popular plant-based proteins out there. And it's not just about the quantity of protein, it's the quality that's so impressive. If you look at this chart, you'll see pumpkin seed's amino acid profile is right up there with soy, which is kind of the gold standard. But check out arginine. Pumpkin has more than 3 times as much as soy. It's not even close. And the story doesn't even stop with protein. These scraps are basically a treasure chest of other good stuff. We're talking healthy fats like linoleic and oleic acids, which are great for your heart. And it's loaded with essential minerals, magnesium, potassium, zinc, iron, you name it. Plus vitamins and these things called bioactive compounds. So what are those bioactive compounds? Well, a lot of them are antioxidants, like Beta-Carotene, which is what gives pumpkins that classic orange color. The easiest way to think about antioxidants is like your body's own personal security team. They protect your cells from damage. And it turns out, pumpkin scraps are a huge supplier. All right, so this stuff is a nutritional powerhouse. But, every hero has to face some challenges, right? It's one thing to have all this amazing potential locked inside, but turning it into something that you and I would actually want to eat, well, that's the tricky part. And this slide really spells it out. On the one hand, you've got the problem. The raw material can have this kind of beany, off-putting taste, the texture can be gritty or rough, plus it can be hard to digest. On the other hand, you have the goal, something delicious, smooth, easy for our bodies to use, and totally safe. And to make things even harder, our hero has to deal with some hidden villains. They're called anti-nutrients. These are natural compounds in the pumpkin itself, like phytates and tannins, that can literally bind to the good stuff, the minerals and the protein, and stop your body from being able to absorb them. It's like they're locking the treasure chest from the inside. Then there's a more modern-day danger we have to think about: pesticides. See, some pumpkins can absorb old, really persistent pesticides from the soil. We're talking about things like heptachlor that were banned decades ago but are still hanging around. And when you process the pumpkin, those contaminants can get concentrated in the very byproducts we want to use. So, with all these obstacles, how do we unlock all that potential? Well, this is where the magic of food science comes in. Scientists have developed the tools to give these scraps a total makeover, taking them from the lab and getting them ready for our lunchboxes. Basically a 4-step glow-up. First, they use simple processing techniques like fermentation or just boiling to neutralize those pesky anti-nutrients. Second, they use extraction methods to isolate the pure, high-quality protein, getting rid of all the other stuff. Third, they start blending and testing to get the taste and texture just right. And finally, and this is super important, they have safety checks, tracing the pumpkins all the way back to the farm to make sure they're free from any of those harmful residues. Okay, so that's the theory. But does it actually work in practice? To find out, one group of researchers decided to make a pudding, But instead of regular milk, they used a milk made 100% from pumpkin seeds. And the results were wow. Just look at this chart. The pudding made with the pumpkin seed milk had over 60% more antioxidant activity than the standard cow's milk version. That is a massive nutritional upgrade. But let's be real. How did it taste? So while the 100% pumpkin pudding was the nutritional winner, the taste testers actually preferred a 50-50 blend with cow's milk. That seemed to be the sweet spot. You still get a fantastic nutritional boost, but the taste and texture were what people enjoyed the most. It's the best of both worlds, really. All right, so pudding works. Cool. But what about something like crackers? Another team of scientists decided to try this out. They took flour made from that leftover pumpkin pulp and started swapping it into a cracker recipe. And check this out. By replacing just 20% of the regular flour with pumpkin flour, a single serving of these crackers could give you up to 8% of your daily vitamin A. Just think about that for a second. That's a serious nutritional benefit, and it's coming from something that was literally going to be thrown away. So, with its powers finally unlocked and the big challenges out of the way, our pumpkin hero is ready to take on the food world. And we're talking about things that go way, way beyond just puddings and crackers. I mean, the applications scientists are looking at now are pretty wild. They're using it to add structure and nutrition to plant-based meats. They're developing it into edible inks for 3D printing customized food. They're even using it to create more sustainable and healthier animal feed. It's not just an ingredient anymore, it's becoming a platform for all kinds of food innovation. When you look at the whole journey, from the compost pile to the absolute cutting edge of food science, it really makes you stop and think, doesn't it? It completely forces us to rethink our entire definition of the word waste. And that really brings us to the big final question. This entire story came from something most of us just throw away without a second thought. So if all this power, all this potential is hiding inside a simple pumpkin scrap, you have to wonder, what other amazing treasures are we tossing out every single day?
And that's a wrap on this episode of MedDecode. I really appreciate you joining me today. If something we talked about sparked your interest, or if there's a medical term that's been bugging you, let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this, be a pal and share it with a friend. We'll catch you on the next one.